Brent crept among the underbrush, twitching and fidgeting as he went. The air grew foul as he approached the target. That was apparent at the foliage around. He was nervous as he stood before the cavern. Quietly, he went over his plan and the equipment he brought with him. Was it enough? If not, then he'd surely be dead. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventurers. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, we are seeking out the deadly Basilisk. Let's see if we can understand how to survive an encounter. The Basilisk has its roots in European mythology, with it dating back to ancient Greece and Rome. From Pliny the Elder, Aristotle, among others writing about it. It is called the King of Serpents. It is said that anyone who looks it in the eye will die. It has a deadly breath which leaves even the plants around its burrow dead. Though in a few accounts it gets even worse. Some say that it can breathe fire, or that it will turn you to stone when looked at. But the most wicked versions say that touching it will bring death. A few even go so far to say that touching anything touching it will bring death. If you stab it with a sword, the poison will run up your sword and kill you. As for appearances, it is said to be a serpent with either a white spot or crown on top of its head, and only about 12 inches long, but more recently said to be larger than that. But wait, there are also descriptions that say it looks like a mixture between a rooster, a dragon, and a serpent, with anywhere between none to 8 legs, some with small wings. Okay, that is a pretty big difference in appearance. What the blazes is going on? Why is a creature called the King of Serpents ever mentioned having legs? Seriously, what is going on here? Well, have you ever heard of the cockatrice? The term basilisk and cockatrice are used interchangeably through most of the old texts, but may in fact be two different creatures. The basilisk is born from the egg of a toad or serpent hatched by a chicken, but the cockatrice is the egg of a chicken hatched under a toad or serpent. This small difference and inconsistency is what has led to two different creatures with very different appearances. Now, I won't lie, when researching this, I have found cases where the origins were reversed, further complicating the issues. Okay, now that we have that bag of snakes untangled somewhat, let's figure out the death gaze. So we need eye contact. That sounds like some sort of visual spell cast from the eyes. A spell enters through the pupils and passes to the retina. That seems to be the method. If the spells affect the body similar to a stroke, a blood clot blocking blood vessels, or blunt force trauma from an attack could be fatal. But where should the spell affect the brain? The brain is comprised of several sections called lobes. The frontal lobe focuses on thinking, social interactions, emotional control, speech, and language. Next is the parietal lobe, which controls writing, reading, and speaking. Then there is the temporal lobe, which influences hearing, vision, and language comprehension. We also have the occipital lobe, which handles vision and facial recognition. The brainstem is comprised of the midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata, and collectively they oversee regulating bodily functions such as blood pressure and breathing. And the cerebellum takes care of balance and body awareness. Lastly, there is the thalamus, which helps to manage memory, consciousness, and movement. While one location looks critical here, the brainstem itself. Strokes to the brainstem are usually fatal. Now, how do we create a stroke in the brainstem? Looking at this image, we can see where the eyes are relative to the brainstem, and they aren't lined up. Great. That means a few things. The spell can't directly strike the eyes, then just get to the brainstem. There are bones in the way. No, it will need to reach the brainstem in some form. But there is an option. The The optical nerve runs from the eyes, joins together at the optic chiasm, from there to the lateral genicular nucleus in the thalamus. Now the thalamus happens to be right next to the brainstem, or target. So to make a deadly gaze, we need to go through the pupil to the retina and create an impulse in the optical nerve, which when it reaches the thalamus, brainstem, and occipital lobe creates a deadly stroke. But how does the basilisk cast a spell with its eyes? This will need to be a form of innate magic. The eye is shaped to focus light on the retina. In theory, the eye of a basilisk would focus its own magic, but it needs to be immune to the effects, partially. Possibly, its own eye lenses can be used to help focus, and without that, the spell would be incomplete. There is one more piece of evidence suggesting that. Some say that a basilisk will die if it sees its own reflection in a mirror. This would allow for the correction of the spell as it passes back through its own lenses. We also need to deal with its deadly venom and breath. There aren't enough details on how it works and affects people to know what type it is, but we know it has an effect on plants near it. But I am thinking it is a toxic gas it possesses. This toxin could coat its body and cause death with touching it. But if a gas that is slowly leaking from its body, then it could explain why touching a sword that is stabbing the basilisk will poison you. The gas could look like it is running up the sword as it sprays out through the wound. This means that it'll need to be pressurized inside the basilisk. If it can be seen, it won't be a colorless poisonous gas. Possibly chlorine gas, which is a visible yellow, though there is not enough information to make a better educated guess. Next, why would a snake hatched by a chicken turn into a basilisk? The development of a snake's body while in the egg is subject to many factors. Snakes will often put their eggs in a form of incubator, using dirt, foliage, and other materials to monitor temperatures. But others lay their eggs in a more secluded place and don't make a nest. So there is some range here. The mother usually doesn't stick around and guard the eggs. Now, having the eggs incubated under a bird would potentially create a less than ideal place for development. This could cause birth defects in appearance, and could even explain some of the differences in appearance. And that brings up the last question, and the basilisk's greatest weakness. There are two that can be exploited. The first up, a weasel. This comes back from when the basilisk was only a foot long. But if you find a basilisk lair, you are advised to throw a weasel into it and let it fight it out. Now the texts do say that the weasel will die from the poison, but the basilisk will also perish. Some texts speculate that it is from the weasel's urine. The idea of a weasel beating a serpent is suspected to come from the mongoose hunting cobras, but that doesn't explain why the urine is fatal to the basilisk. Potentially, the urine may be reacting with the toxin within the basilisk to render it fatal. Urine contains a nitrogen compound called urea, some potassium and sodium, but also chloride and uric acid. The chlorine, sodium, and potassium could react with the toxic gas to make a new poison, which the basilisk can't withstand. But that doesn't explain why it needs to be a weasel. Sure, a weasel could get into its nest, but so could a small dog or rodents. The exact reason is hard to determine. But it has a second weakness. The crowing of a rooster is fatal to it, causing it to turn to ash. Now this is a problem, since the basilisk is supposed to be hatched under a chicken, which means that it has probably heard a rooster crow. This has to be the result of development after hatching. The only explanation would be the result of magic breaking. Now most texts say that it is best to avoid getting into a fight with a basilisk. Okay, yes, bring a weasel and a rooster, and that will give you an advantage making this much easier. But I don't know about you, but I don't usually carry too many animals with me when I'm walking about. Do you know how many mythical creatures have a weakness to one random animal? A lot. So, just you and your preparations. First issue is the Deadly Breath. This will let you know where its lair is. Find a hole in the ground with a bunch of dead plants nearby, and there is a good chance that this is the basilisk's lair. Now, you'll need to protect yourself from its deadly breath. Antidotes and cleansing magic. Bring plenty of them. In addition, there are ways to remove the poison from the air. Rain or cold air could help wash it away, but cause it to collect on the ground. So watch out. But a strong wind spell will push it away and let you breathe easily. Just be careful that you don't blow the toxins into others. But the wind may be a double-edged sword here. Remember that the basilisk can kill if it makes eye contact. So let's stop that from happening. Smoke bombs, fog, and darkness spells will obscure its vision. If it can't lock eyes with you, it can't instantly kill you. Ideally, you want area of effect attacks here. Fireballs, blizzards, and explosive attacks. Carpet bomb the basilisk from where it can't see you. They could blow away your smoke screen, but it lets you attack without knowing exactly where your foe is. Now, if you are sure of your shots, you can use a bow and arrow and try to snipe it. Hard to do while it is in smoke, but if you can creep up on it and fire from behind, you can bring it down if you got the skills. You can bring a melee weapon into this fight, but that'll be dangerous. In melee, you put yourself in range of its toxic breath. Its skills can be tough, but you can cut through. Now, you may think it will try and wrap around you like a boa constrictor, but it shouldn't. Snakes that use venom don't constrict their prey. They rely on speed to strike abruptly. If you do try and close in, take a page from Perseus, bring a mirrored shield. Cower behind it, and let the basilisk look at the reflective surface. That'll kill it. As for armor, plate and gambeson are best against being bitten. The fangs may slip between the links in chainmail, but none of those will protect you from its toxic breath. What you really need is armor which offers magical protection and resistances. Now remember that the basilisk is a reptile. That means it'll have a couple of common weaknesses, namely cold. Anything that you can do to drop the temperature will put it to sleep, if not kill it. A blizzard spell or ray of cold being perfect for this. Yet there may be another trick to employ here. Could you just collect weasel urine and make a water balloon to drop in on the basilisk's lair? That would let you skip the fight and end it quickly. The basilisk is dangerous when not prepared, but it does have a few weaknesses which you should exploit. A weasel, a crowing rooster, and a mirror. If you don't have any of these, keep it from looking you in the eye. Fight smart and use stealth and range. There is no way around it, but the basilisk is very dangerous regardless of how it appears and deserves a 7 of 10 for difficulty. The adage remains, this is a foe that is best to just avoid. What you get from the basilisk depends on how you kill it. If the body remains intact, it will be soaked with poison and making it unsafe to eat the meat. With proper treatment, the scaly hide might be able to be fashioned into some form of armor, but that is a maybe. Probably wouldn't chance it, though you could try making a whip-like weapon using it. Just something different for the handle. The poison is another gamble. Yes, you could try and collect it, but it'll be dangerous. If successful, you could weaponize it against your foes. Throw it at them. Let the poison take them out. But there is one interesting use for the ashes of a basilisk. It is listed as one of the ingredients to create a Philosopher's Stone. I went over the process to make a Philosopher's Stone when I did a video on Frankenstein's monster. There are 4 major steps: Nigredo, the blackening; Albedo, the whitening; Cincinnatus, the yellowing; and Rubedo, the reddening. It is the first stage which is most likely Nigredo, also called putrefaction phase, where the ingredients are all broken down into a black sludge. If I am right, it would come from using the toxins from the basilisk to break it down. If that is your goal, be sure to collect the ashes. Brent stopped and took a deep breath. It was time. Reaching into the bag on his side, he drew out a weasel. It squirmed about in his hands. When it caught the scent emanating from the lair, it sprinted off, eager for a snake meal. A moment later, the sound of a fight began. Then a squeal, and the weasel died. Brent stepped back and readied his axe. A little while later, the basilisk made its way from its lair. It was weakened. Lifting the axe overhead, he chucked it. The large weapon spun end over end before slamming down, edge first into the basilisk's neck. Its head fell away from its body. Smiling, he waited for the poison gas to escape and blow away before moving to collect his bounty. The basilisk is dangerous. It has plenty of ways to kill you when you aren't prepared. Plan ahead before facing this mighty foe adventurer. Thank you for watching. Please return next week, where we shall encounter Ifrit. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.